All right, diving into UK gang culture today. And we've got a really unique perspective to unpack. It's this YouTube interview with Darren, former gangster from Liverpool.
And what makes this deep dive so interesting is, it's not some polished documentary or some carefully crafted narrative.
Right.
This is raw, unfiltered, straight from Guy himself. Doesn't shy away from controversy?
Not at all, no. In fact, he comes out swinging with some pretty serious allegations.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically about boxing gyms in Liverpool.
Yeah, and he names them.
He does.
Rotunda ABC, Dave Matthews Gym.
Right.
He says they're not just about boxing.
Okay.
They're fronts for criminal organizations.
Wow.
Even accuses them of being used for, recruitment and money laundering.
It's wild, and it even goes a step further. He directly implicates MTK Global.
Right, yeah.
Which is a major boxing management company.
Huge, yeah.
Alleging they've funneled money into these gyms to recruit young people.
It's, when you think about organized crime in boxing, sadly, it's not a news story.
Right.
It's a global issue, long history.
Absolutely.
But what's striking about Guy's commentary is, the directness.
Yeah.
He's saying this is today.
This is now.
This is happening now. And it's become more insidious because it's under the guise of legitimate businesses.
Right. And this all gets even more concerning when we consider his own experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, his time in prison.
Right.
His account is honestly really unsettling.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of what prison can do to a person.
Yeah.
Especially young people.
And he talks about, he recounts this experience of developing attractions to men while he was incarcerated.
Right. And then there's the story about the prison nurse.
Jane Jackson.
Yeah. Who he claims to have had a sexual relationship with.
He uses the word groomed.
Yeah. Very heavy.
It is. It raises so many questions about what goes on
behind those walls.
The power dynamics,
Yeah.
especially between inmates and staff.
It's important to remember we're hearing Guy's side.
Of course.
We don't have Jane Jackson's account.
Right.
But still, it highlights that vulnerability.
Absolutely.
And how people can be taken advantage of.
And that vulnerability seems to be kind of a thread throughout everything he talks about.
Definitely.
Especially when he starts talking about Scousers.
Right, which is what he calls people from Liverpool, right? And he does not hold back about his own people.
No.
He criticizes this, what he sees as this group mentality, lack of individual courage, always relying on others for validation.
He's especially tough on the fighting community.
Oh, yeah. He does not like them.
Calls them all talk.
All show, no go.
More focused on how they look than, actual toughness.
Yeah, and he sees this reliance on others, this need for support as weakness.
Interesting.
And I think it comes from his own struggles,
Okay.
Trying to reconcile his past with who he is now.
Almost like he's trying to redefine what it means to be strong.
Yeah, and that's what makes his take on the fighting community so interesting.
Yeah.
He's drawing this distinction between those who fight with a team.
Right.
With, emotional backup.
Yeah.
And those who face their battles alone. He says the true warriors are the ones who can navigate that tunnel of darkness.
Right.
Without needing anyone to pull them out.
So it's not just about, physical strength then. It's more about
it's mental
resilience.
Exactly. Emotional fortitude.
Yeah.
Being able to face your demons without relying on anyone.
And he contrasts that with formal training, too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's saying gyms can't prepare you for the real world.
Yeah, he's like, you can learn technique, discipline, all that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't compare to the chaos of a real fight.
He uses this analogy.
Oh, yeah, what was it?
It was something like, it's like pitting a disciplined technician against a brawler who will, and I quote, put his finger up your ass to win.
It's crude, but you get the point.
It's brutal.
Real violence is ugly.
Yeah.
It's not a movie. It's about survival.
And you can hear that in his voice,
Oh, totally. He's lived it.
These aren't just hypothetical situations to him.
He's talking about his own experiences, yeah.
He even says the most significant battles he's faced haven't been on the streets.
It's been in here.
It's the internal stuff.
The darkest moments.
That's powerful, man.
It really is. And it speaks to just how deeply violence can impact a person.
Yeah.
The scars you can't see.
You can tell he's still grappling with it all.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely wrestling with a lot.
How do you reconcile that past?
Right.
Find meaning, purpose after a life like that?
It's a question a lot of ex-offenders face, right?
I imagine so.
How do you reconcile who you were with who you are now?
Right. And how does society fit into that?
Exactly. Because you're trying to build a new life, but you're carrying all this baggage.
And people don't forget.
No, they don't. And they
Yeah.
don't always make it easy to move on.
It's like, is it even possible to escape that? That's the question, isn't it? Can you ever really outrun who you used to be?
It's tough. And honestly, G doesn't make it any easier with some of the things he says.
Yeah, like his comments about lifters.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
It's rough.
Using those slurs, it's really disappointing. And it just shows that even when you're trying to move away from violence, those prejudices can stick around.
It's like growth isn't always a straight line.
One step forward, two steps back sometimes.
Yeah.
But we have to recognize that, right? People are complicated.
Absolutely.
It doesn't excuse it, but it adds another layer to his story.
And it brings us to this bigger question of how does society handle this?
Right. How do we support rehabilitation while acknowledging the harm that's been done?
It seems like such a tightrope to walk.
It is, because we need to create ways for people to turn their lives around.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to be part of the community again.
But at the same time.
But we can't forget the victims.
Right. And we can't ignore the things that lead to this life in the first place.
Exactly. We have to talk about the poverty, the lack of opportunities.
It's all connected.
It's all part of the bigger picture. Look, this isn't just about Darren Gee, right?
No.
His story, as messed up as it can be, it reflects something bigger about society.
Definitely. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so important.
It gets you thinking.
It does. It makes you question your assumptions. And I hope it reminds everyone listening that it's not about rushing to judgment. It's about understanding, even when it's difficult.